And this is the hub of the world as it's experienced by people who are still in fear of the Lord Death. The world as we experience it is a world of the first three chakras: ignorance, lust, and malice. And the boundaries of our world is this rim here with 12 what are called mutually arising causes. This is the boundary beyond which we do not see because we are in fear of the Lord Death. The final job of the Lama is to get you born in a decent environment where you have a chance to receive Buddhist instructions for another lifetime and to save you from birth, let's say, in the egg of a flea or the womb of a mouse or something like that. All of these are possibilities. And then one is born, this frightened, little, terrified thing who's just had a great fight through the birth canal, and his eyes open to the surfaces of things, and he has been through the whole inward mystery and has forgotten. This is Pancharaksha, the patroness of books, coming to illumination through reading Scripture. This is the same mandala that we've seen with ignorance and malice and lust in the center. When you have been led by Scripture not to fear death anymore, that world, which seems such a horror, is transformed into a world of Buddha consciousness. Now this figure, this Pancharaksha, is called a Yidam. The Sanskrit is a deity that you yourself have chosen. Ishtadeva, or Ishtadevata, the wished for deity. This is a very sophisticated idea. This deity has no existence. It's a picture. It's to put in your mind the idea of a deity, and it will achieve life insofar as you make this your deity. And then this deity, the deity of reading in Scripture, becomes the guide of your life.
Culture and language tend to become traps, and yet they can be the platforms for enormous freedom if you understand what it's all about. And what it's all about is you. You are the center of the mandala. You are not marginalized in any way. And the message that the culture gives us is that we are marginal. And so then when you look for guidance, direction, mentorship, we always look toward institutions. Well, I'll go to the university, or I'll go to the army, or I'll do something. Somebody will tell me, will give me a larger purpose. But it's really yourself that is the final arbiter. And if you keep yourself as the final arbiter, you will be less susceptible to infection by cultural illusion. Now, the problem with this is that it makes you feel bad to not be infected by cultural illusion because it's called alienation. You know, but this is, I can't solve all problems. The reason we feel alienated is because the society is infantile, trivial, and stupid.
The energy of anger may be a source of energy, but when you use anger as energy, there may be danger, because when you are angry, you are not lucid. You might say things or you might do things that can be very destructive. That is why it's better to use other forms of energy, like the energy of compassion, the energy of understanding. But the energy of anger can be transformed into the energy of understanding and of compassion. We don't have to throw away anything. We need only to know how to transform one form of energy into another. The intellect is not everything of our being. Sometimes people understand what is going on and what should be done, and yet they don't act as if they have understood.
And imagine the mentality of a Roman aristocrat, a person of power in Roman society. Their physics is drawn from democracy and atomism. In other words, they are thoroughgoing materialists. Their social theory is drawn from Epictetus and Plato. They are, in fact, extremely modern people by our own standards. However, among the gardeners and kitchen help and stable boys, there is news of a momentous event.
Zen is very straightforward. Neither statues can help, nor scriptures can help. The only thing that can help is going deeper into yourself, realizing the inner sky and the freedom that comes with it, and the fragrance of the beyond. The Master asked, what is the aim of receiving precepts? What are you going to do when you become learned? When you have received all the teachings of Buddha, what you are going to do? What is the goal? Gao answered, to escape birth and death. He must have heard about that these Buddhists are trying to get out of the circle of birth and death.
In the Middle East, a Jewish rabbi has triumphed over death and risen after 3 days in the tomb. Should the master of a Roman household have caught wind of this kind of superstitious talk among the help, he would have just dismissed it with a sneer. What a preposterous idea. And it is a preposterous idea. Nevertheless, the fact that an idea is preposterous has never held it back from making zealous converts. And within 120 years after the Annunciation of the birth of Christianity, its missionaries were beating on the gates of Rome, attempting to convert the emperor. Now I see a similar situation in the modern context, that rationalism, scientific technology, which began and came out of the scholasticism of the Middle Ages and the quite legitimate wish to glorify God through an appreciation of His natural world, turned into a kind of demonic pact, a kind of descent into the underworld, a Mckenna, if you will, leading to the present cultural and political impasse that involves massive stockpiles of atomic weapons, huge propagandized populations cut off from any knowledge of their real history, male-dominated organizations plying their message of lethal destruction and inevitable historical advance. And into this situation comes suddenly an anomaly, something which cannot be explained. I believe that that is the purpose of the UFO, to inject uncertainty into the male-dominated, paternalistic, rational, solar myth under which we are suffering.
Most of the people live life in such a way that it creates more and more misery. The whole programming of humanity is for misery. So one starts thinking how to get out of the circle of birth and death. That is not really going to hell. You have to learn how to get out of the programming the society has given to you. Once you are out of that programming, you are out of birth and death and the so-called circle.
So, I suppose if you had to categorize this point of view, you would say I'm taking a depth psychological, psychoanalytic point of view. What I'm saying is that the UFO is nothing more than an assertion of herself by the goddess into history.